maybe you can give the audience a little bit of an overview. Yeah, what are the elements and components of self-leadership, yeah, from your experience and what you've developed?
Sure. Well, I didn't invent the term self-leadership, although myself and my co-author, Dr. Anna Kazan, have done a lot of writing on it. It precedes me. And it comes out of the area of self-management. Most people understand self-management, right? And self-management comes out of chronic disease. So, if you have diabetes, you have to manage your blood sugar. If you have arthritis, you have to manage your exercise. So we all have elements of self-management. I had self-management being on this call, prepared at the right time, as you did, right? Just time management is self-management. Self-leadership is taking it to the next level. And Dr. Anna Kazan and I define self-leadership as the practice of intentionally influencing your thinking, feeling, and actions towards your objectives. So I'll say it one more time. The practice of intentionally influencing your thinking, feeling, and actions towards your objectives. And so that gives you that sense of, we have thinking, which of course we have to take some ownership of that, because in an age of fake news, what do I think? Where do I get my thoughts from? Am I being rational? Am I addressing my cognitive biases? It has feeling, which is the emotional intelligence bit. Am I taking ownership of my emotions, or am I allowing other people to trigger my emotions? And of course, action or behavior, because that's the output that we have, and towards one's own objectives. And this is very important around empowerment and engagement. Although when I first started talking about self-leadership, some people would say, well, self-leadership sounds selfish. And I said, no, absolutely not. And allow me to share a metaphor that I share in my speeches, is that if you're traveling at 40,000 feet and bang, the oxygen masks do fall from the ceiling, do you place the oxygen mask over your nose and mouth before assisting others? Now, most people in my audiences will say yes, but if you've had young children, you would know that the urge to protect your children or your loved ones would be great, which is why the stewards and stewardesses at every airline that I've ever traveled on give you this thing. And so why do they do that? Well, the answer is, of course, you can't help anybody else unless you first help yourself.
Yes.
And so self-leadership is not selfish, because a self-leader knows how to get their needs met, and therefore is a much better team member, is much more abundant, right? So, Bill Gates is a self-leader now, and Warren Buffett, their altruism is much greater because they've got their own needs met.
Absolutely.
A team member who knows how to address their own needs is less needy and has less disruption to that team. So self-leadership is most definitely not selfish.
Thanks for sharing that. I think it's a great point. I would kind of make one comment, actually, that selfishness maybe isn't something bad. Yeah, so it's almost like I think it's right to be selfish, yeah, to some extent, because that's you, and it's about you. So therefore, I think that's, as you said, it's prerequisite to do anything else.
Well, I live in Asia, of course. Have lived in Asia for 13 years, which is very much a we culture versus an I culture. And they have this huge value around their perceived view of humility. And so saying I first is almost countercultural. I mean, the American philosopher Ayn Rand will tell you, constructive objectivity is about, there's nothing wrong with looking after yourself first. But the self-awareness is that, none of us are completely independent, right? You could be a monk sitting on the side of a mountain, right? But the moment you come off that mountain and need to get money out of the ATM or catch a taxi, you have to interact with other human beings. Yes. And by the way, I've had that experience. I did live on an ashram on the side of a mountain, and I was blissed out. And then, the day I came off that mountain, I was in a queue in a bank, and somebody pushed in front of me in the queue, and all of my stuff came straight back up to the front. It's like,
I think that's a great story. I like that story. I think that's actually where that self-awareness and self-leadership actually really, really counts, isn't it? And I remember, I love a lot of Eckhart Tolle and other books, and especially in the last couple of years, find on my own journey. And one of the things I remember when he talks about, well, your level of, if you like, enlightenment or self-leadership, yeah, which kind of for me somehow goes hand in hand, shows spend a week, yeah, with your parents, for example.
Yes.
Yeah, that's actually so. So when you are people who know you very, very well and are very close to you, and the behavior you show there, yeah, tells a lot about you.
Well, it does. It also. I mean, part of the journey. I mean, is you know, my parents have long passed, but I remember going back to my parents when I was, you know, in my 20s, and realizing that, you know, how much your behavior is influenced by their expectation and the environment.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a very important self-awareness that we can take into an organizational culture, is we're not as independent as we think we are.
Mm-hmm.
So an element of self-awareness is, you know, knowing that I have biases and there are triggers.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the work of Daniel Kahneman on Think Fast,
Yes,
Think Slow, we're
absolutely.
nowhere near as rational as we think we are,
yes,
because the marketers and the, you know, the TV and the media can influence us
yes,
in so many ways. So the self-awareness that and the humility comes with, you know, I think I'm making independent thought, but taking that step back and go, well, how have I been framed? You know, even from the moment of your birth, within a few minutes, you're given a name, a nationality, an ethnicity, a gender, and possibly a religion and a football team to follow. You've
talking about Australians, yes.
yes, I know. Well, if I was in India, I would say cricket. But you know, so part of the self-leadership is to recognize I'm not as independent, but to be, you know, to have a healthy relationship with, I'm being influenced. What is that influence? And asking that tough question. Because it's very difficult as a human being to be truly independent, because we are an interdependent species.
Absolutely. I think it's a great point. And one of the, you know, when I speak on stage and share that, one of the 3 tips I leave the audience at the end is, you know, find some light for your blind spots.
Yes.
Because I think that's so important. Everybody has them. I mean, you have them, I have them, everybody there. At whatever level you are, you have your particular blind spots. And finding actually that light on an ongoing basis is that reflective, you know, perspective, isn't it?